What once started out as a few glasses of red wine with the girls has quickly turned into you drinking by yourself at home. And perhaps you're consuming more than a bottle of wine per day. You know, in the early days when I started on my alcohol freedom journey, I stumbled across ways that I could reframe the way my brain was perceiving cravings in the very moment that they were happening. At the time, I was going through massive back pain. I had an MRI and I had bulging discs in my lower back. At one point, I could hardly even get up off the couch. So around that same time that I was committing to quitting alcohol, that I knew that I had to make these changes, I was seeking out movements that would help me with my back pain. So it was upon accident that I stumbled across this, and how movement as medicine was born was that I was doing a deep resting squat trying to help my back pain around the same time that I was quitting alcohol. But what I realized is that when I did that, at the very moment the craving hit, I actually stopped the craving in its tracks, and it took a very short period of time for that to happen. I'm here today to share a story with you of hope and joy and freedom, and what life on the other side of alcohol use disorder looks like. Perhaps you went from bottles to a box because it was cheaper and you didn't have to face up to the fact of knowing how much you were actually drinking. It was actually my biggest downfall, was when I went from a bottle of wine to a box of wine. That was when everything started to really go south. I battled addiction and alcohol use disorder for many, many years after the suicide of my brother back in 2000. I didn't ask for that to happen to me. It's just one of those cruel blows that life dished out. If you're hurting today, or if there's something that you've been going through, then I want you to know that you're not alone. This park where I'm standing is for me where it all began. On December 28th, 2024, I committed myself to the rest of my life. Not just my life for me, but my life for my husband and my children, and my future moving forward. I knew that alcohol was stepping in the way of my dreams, and you don't have to battle overcoming alcohol use disorder alone either. I'm creating a community of women here that are like-minded, ambitious, and that they know that alcohol is holding them back. So I'm going to give you an example right now of what movement as medicine, second person self-talk, and box breathing looks like. Being very clever, doing it all at the same time. So if you're an ambitious woman and you're trying to quit alcohol, I encourage you to get down with me. If you can't make it all the way down into a deep resting squat, just go halfway. Something that looks like this, if you can't get all the way down because of knee issues, hip issues. So you can just hang out here, move from side to side. Any type of movement in the body is what you need. So I'm just going to stay in this position. Just because we've decided that we are going to do something about our drinking, it doesn't mean that the people around us are going to do the same. This very lake park right here is where, for me, it all began. On December 28th, 2024, I committed to taking my last drink of alcohol. I was sick. I had been sick with a respiratory illness, then I got RSV, and then after New Year's Eve, I came down with the flu. I was sick for 6 months, and you know, I'm a pretty healthy person. One of the turning points for me was when I Googled the effects of drinking alcohol while suffering from a respiratory illness. I was absolutely horrified at what I read, the damage that it was doing to the little capillaries in my lungs. No wonder I wasn't getting well. I was fighting an uphill battle because I was drinking roughly a bottle of wine per day. You know what was my biggest downfall? Is when I went from a bottle to a box. I couldn't see how much I was drinking. I decided to do it because it was cheaper, but also I didn't have to face up to the fact that I was now consuming more than a bottle of red wine most days, usually starting at around 3 p.m. And what did that coincide with? With my boys coming home from school. That is not something that I'm proud to say out loud, but somehow in my mind, I justified that life was about to get stressful because my kids were coming home from school. These are the tricks that our brain plays on us, because once we get into that cycle and that flow of daily drinking, it becomes almost impossible to get out of it unless you make the decision. You find your deepest why, and you use techniques like the techniques that I teach in Alcohol Freedom Journey to reframe the way that your brain actually operates and how it perceives alcohol. It's really important that you do these techniques in the very moment that that craving for alcohol hits. Don't just ignore it thinking it will go away. White knuckling alcohol does not work. You need to take active steps in order to make the changes that are necessary to move on and have the best life that you personally dream of. So quite often I was in my kitchen cooking and I just dropped down right there in my kitchen in a deep resting squat. And not only was I curing my back pain because I could not do this when I was stopping drinking. This is something that has come with time, and being able to have this type of fluidity, that's a hard word, fluidity in movement, just like quitting alcohol. It's been a process. So here I was, curing my alcohol use disorder, getting the best body of my life, being the best mum I could possibly be, and doing all of these things at the same time. It feels really good to be able to move like this at my age. I'm more flexible now than I have actually ever been. And this all happened after turning 50. One of the biggest turning points for me in my journey was finding my deep and undeniable why. Why did I need to get sober? Why was I doing this? Why was every cell in my body desperately calling out for change? Nature, the Holy Spirit, the universe knows what you need. If you believe in God, which I do, God was shining a light on this sober life. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It was undeniable. Not only was I hurting myself, but I was hurting my kids, my beautiful sons. They started to notice my drinking. When I was drinking prior to them noticing, they were younger. Children pick up so much. They definitely know that something's not right with mum or dad when they see their parents inebriated on alcohol. But the cold, hard truth that followed from me was when my boys started calling me out on my drinking. They started saying out loud, "Oh, Mum, you've been drinking again." These little underhanded remarks that they were making showed me that my drinking was hurting them. I didn't realize this right away. It wasn't, I just woke up one day and it happened. You know, to be honest, a big part of me didn't want to admit that I was going to have to stop drinking or dramatically slow down my drinking. And here's where the turning point was that made me decide that it wasn't just slowing down that was going to work. Is that there were moments that even when I hadn't been drinking, my boys were on such high alert in expectation of mum being tipsy or being drunk that even if I acted a little bit silly and hadn't been drinking, they actually thought that I had. And a couple of times they accused me of being tipsy when I hadn't even had any alcohol. What that showed me was that their nervous system was on high alert, that they were acting in expectation of what they thought I was going to do or wasn't going to do. And that really mattered to me. For a little while, I started hiding my drinking, thinking that I could do it without them knowing. And this is when I'd cut way back. I was in the pantry with my wine bottle and my glass, you know, just pouring it and sipping it in the pantry. And I was like, what are you doing? You know, that behavior reminded me a lot like the behavior of an addict, someone that was hiding their dirty little secret. And it was all these moments, all these pivotal moments and these things that were happening that just made me realize I have to stop. Like, I really have got to stop. Part-time drinking was not going to be an option for me. So I knuckled down and I got to work and started solving this problem as to how was I going to live my life without alcohol. We have a very outdoorsy social life. This park is often filled with anywhere up to 100 people, having fun on the weekends with their families, boating. Alcohol, water skiing, wakeboarding and boating and a lifestyle like this goes hand in hand. But it's not just my lifestyle where alcohol goes hand in hand, it's everywhere. Alcohol is inescapable. No matter where we go, somebody has got a beer in their hand. In fact, most people are drinking. The people that want to stop and know they need to stop are in the minority. So when alcohol is everywhere, how are we going to be able to remove it from our life? It is a very challenging thing, which is what caused me to want to start Alcohol Freedom Journey, to create a safe space for women and mums that are ambitious, but that know that alcohol is holding them back. We cannot be who we truly want to be while we're still consuming the liquid poison. Whether you want to hear that or whether you don't, it's the truth. Alcohol poisons every cell in our body. It causes cancer, especially breast cancer in women. It causes dementia. It shrinks the white matter in our brain. And let's face it, ladies, we cannot recover from alcohol in our 50s and above like we did when we were in our 20s. We might want to still continue to live like we're 20, but is that a smart thing to do as we age and move into this next and most fabulous part of our life? You know, we have a wisdom and a maturity in our 50s and above that is something that we have never previously had. And I made this decision when I was stopping drinking that 50 was going to be the best year of my life. And I'm halfway through my first year of my 50s, and I promise you that quitting drinking alcohol has been one of the best decisions that I've ever made. I felt a deep calling from God and from the universe that I had to create alcohol freedom journey for women like me that was suffering from that gray area of drinking called alcohol use disorder. I tried going to some AA meetings and I could not authentically stand up in a room full of people and admit, hi, I'm Jaden and I'm an alcoholic. Because you know what? I wasn't an alcoholic. I had what's called alcohol use disorder. I haven't been drinking heavily, liquor, falling down drunk, getting DUIs, all of that. I haven't been doing that throughout my life. My drinking was directly related to trauma. My addiction started after the suicide of my brother in 2000. It's been a long battle, but I am finally more than 500 days free of alcohol and any drugs, and I have never felt better. Alcoholics Anonymous is very black and white. It's you're an alcoholic and that you're an alcoholic for life and that you can control your disease, but there is no cure. I fully do not believe that. I am completely recovered from my alcohol addiction. I don't crave alcohol anymore. I don't miss it. In fact, it hurts me to watch people that I love drinking alcohol. So I'm going to show you a little bit of footage from right here in this very spot on January 1st, 2025. Wow, it's actually emotional. It's okay to have a little cry, right? It's okay. I cannot believe how happy and positive I feel. This is just such a joy. I am so glad that I did this. It would have been much easier to stay in bed, but I chose this instead. When I came down to this very lake park and stood here, I never felt more committed to anything in my life. My healthiest year yet, my fittest year, my strongest year, and here I am, 500 and something days later, but who's counting? There have been many ups and downs. There are a lot of struggles along the way when you're trying to quit alcohol. Temptation is everywhere. If you have a partner, a husband that still drinks, that is a massive challenge for your marriage. There are many reasons behind why this happens, and that's another video for another day. So let's incorporate the second person self-talk with box breathing and a deep resting squat. Here we go. Jaden, you are feeling the craving in your chest. Jaden, you're having a craving right now. So I'm acknowledging the fact that I'm having a craving. You're feeling it in your chest and you really want to have some wine, but instead you're going to get in a squat of some sort. Instead of acting on that craving, you're going to do your movement, you're going to sit in your squat, and this craving is going to pass. Already the craving's gone because I'm only thinking about, how much my hips are on fire right now. I want to just get a couple of last things in before I go. So box breathing is when you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold for another 4. Using these techniques consistently over time, habit stacking, doing them again and again and again, and not giving in to alcohol is where the success lies. And you know what? If you screw up and have a drink, oh well. You have to forgive yourself and get over it, move forward. Before we go, let me give you one last tip that saved me more times than I can count. And it's one question that I would ask myself. The question is, where is this one drink going to lead me? I would allow myself to dive down the rabbit hole of where alcohol was going to take me, because we all know we don't want just one. One is going to turn into 2. 2 is going to turn into 3, and then before you know it, you've drunk the whole bottle. And then before you know it again, you're not buying bottles anymore, you're buying it in a box because you can just pour it out. You don't know how much you're drinking, and it's cheap and easy. If you've gotten to a place in your alcohol journey where you are drinking box wine, this is a huge red flag. Whether it's me or whether it's somebody else, when you're looking for somebody to guide you, to hold you accountable, to help you live the life that you truly dream of, having a coach that you know, that you like, that you trust, and that has done all of this before you is so important. It can be really challenging just to be out there in the world and find a group of awesome women that are all quitting alcohol. Outside of AA, which is something that is not aimed at women that fall into this grey area of drinking, there are very few resources for women to get together and support each other in this alcohol-free life. I support you in your decision to stop drinking, and I'm here to help you in any way I can. Please comment down below, what would be your choice of movement as medicine? You could choose any type of movement that you like. It just has to be something that takes your mind off the craving. Put the focus into your body in a whole new, different and exciting way. Not in a way that's just giving in to the poison. Let's replace the poison with something new. Thank you so much for joining me here today, and I cannot wait to see you right here in the next video.